I'm surprised they opt for the Quap instead of something like the Mikado TA. Again, the matchup versus Tiny towards late game, or at least early mid game into early late game, kind of feels good. As long as Tiny doesn't have like the full AC up, you can really handle him if you have the backing of your team. The Quap is still something Mikado excels at. I think they, in this case, Talon does prefer Mikado to play more space-making cores, momentum setters, and the Quap will allow them to do that. I do worry about the fact that UDV get to go back into the Kunkka and having this Mirana combo on hand now with the X Arrow. This is a strong mid lane. We saw JG handle lane pretty well against the Razor, although that was still, ending up Mikado's way. Matchup versus the Quap. I mean, the Quap can still play with Shadow Strike, but it's still a Kunkka. It's not as oppressive as a Razor lane. You can play with Tidebringer a lot better. You can have the threat of a gank with level 4 up with the X mark value point and just go for X arrow with a rotation from Mirana. Lots of openings there for UDV. Talon go back into the Razor. That is likely our Savage hero. Now there is some flex. You could run a Savage safe lane Quap, a Mikado mid Razor. But considering how Talon tends to run the Razor, it usually tends to be for Savage. So we'll see if they will play with that flex on hand. Surprising pickup. That does mean that we're being left with support last pick, which I don't think Talon does too often. So let's see if they can get some value here for UDV. Sort of the same story. It looks like they're just going to need either a support or offlane, depending on what they want for Rupido. So it should be quite the back and forth in the last picks. Talon has last pick overall, though. So they can kind of read what UDV want to do before adjusting.
Do you like this draft from Talon, John? Do you like where it's headed? Like Savage, Pos1 Razor, Makoto, Quap. I mean, the Brewmaster to me is fine for KP, but I really am starting to have my doubts here with this draft already. Like, you're against Tiny, probably a support DP, which is always a headache to go against, and then there's Kunkka Mirana, which probably means Makoto is never going to be safe until he has that BKB up, or maybe even a Yule Scepter to try and avoid the X back into the arrow. I'm already getting very concerned here for Talon just based off these drafts.
I think it's a good draft for you. You've got a strong safe lane combo with Razor. If you do go Razor, Shadow Shaman, Shackle, it's into static link up against whatever's in the off lane is pretty good. You have an earlier spike when compared to Tiny. Razor can just go for, say, a Falcon Blade BKB, removing the threat of toss back from the Tiny to remove the static link. So you can just chase down Tiny, refresh up, you can chase down Tiny and Kunkka. I think the Razor's a good response to that. I am just concerned that Talon are last picking a support. Again, they could try flexing Quap support, not something we've seen. We've seen Brewmaster support before, but it's a KP special. I don't think you're ever going to take away from that. And I like what UDV's done. Their draft is looking stronger. They do ban out Shadow Demon and the Omni Knight as well, just to ensure there are no saves here for Talon. So this last pick has to be something really big, has to be something really valuable. I guess you always have the fallback option of an Abaddon, right? Like it's a hard 5 hide on the Shadow Shaman. And that takes away a lot of the scare potential of X Arrow. I think that pretty much takes away most of it. The DP is still going to be an annoyance, but you do have at least the tools or eventually the damage to deal with that DP with Razor Quap. So that might be manageable. Still, it is looking like the playstyle for UDV is a lot easier to pull off here.
One more offlane pick as well for Rupido, I believe. So I wouldn't mind a bit more team fight here for UDV. Like something a bit tankier, like a Tide Hunter just seems like it could fit the bill. Just a bit more lockdown. Like you're against Quap. I guess you're against Razor as well, Pos1, so you've got to be very wary of what you pick up because not many heroes do too well against the Razor. Something that can kind of, just push him away. Maybe a Mars to come out here for Rupido, I think, would be a decent option as well. Just something that can kind of either get away with mobility or just kind of push the Razor away. Of course, if it is a Shaman Razor lane, it's always going to be very hard no matter what you do. I still think Mars could be very good here for UDV. But they'll go for the Sand King instead. I don't mind it. I think it's decent.
I think it's a lot stronger when you're playing with a Mirana lane. So you've got Burst Strike into Arrow. That's going to be constantly painful for Talon. They've always got to cover their angles here, and that gives them a lot of laning presence as well from UDV. They have got really early spikes. They've got really good mid-game timings. Whereas for Talon, it's decent. It feels scarier. Like their condition to take these fights is a lot more scattered. They don't have as much team fight presence. It's mainly single target control, and they will go with the Doom. So
wow.
what's our support here? I'm curious if they go with Brewmaster support or Doom support or Quap support. Like, that's the flex. Savage will show on the Razor. As you mentioned, Rupido on the Sand King are holding out in that pick. It is the KP Doom and Mikado Quap, so support Brewmaster for Q.
Well,
I'm trying to recall. I think we've seen that a couple of times for Motivate Trust when he was there. So we'll see how much Q can get out. I think the Doom is a great answer to hold down the Tiny, to hold down the Kunkka, to stop the Sand King. It is a fairly slower game for Talon. They will be farming up on Doom. KP's going to go for Midas Blink or Blink BKB. Either one kind of works out. And in that window, UDV has a lot of fight to bring out. And there's still no save for that X arrow. It's not like we had an Abaddon close. So there's a lot of jump from UDV that Talon has to be very cautious about here, Mike.
I certainly agree with you on that, John. I will ask you the hard question. Who came out with the better draft?
Draft-wise, I'd actually lean UDV. I think Talon's draft is going to be harder to pull off. Their timings are just too fast. Like, Tiny can just keep building up. Kunkka, Sand King can play really well together. You've got the X arrow combination. You've got the DP to push. You've covered all your bases here for UDV's draft. For Talon, it can scale nicely. You've got some good combinations for the Shadow Shaman to pull off, but you will be looking for the Doom to farm. You're looking for the Razor to farm to at least a BKB. Quap to farm into a BKB or Yule's going to want to go defensive this game. And that could take a lot longer. That's a lot of time for UDV to play fast and close the game out.
I certainly agree with you, John. I do feel like UDV probably just has the better draft going into this, but it is all about execution. So let's see if they can execute here in Game 3 against Talon Esports. Talon running something a little bit different, a little bit more spicy here with the offlane Doom. And KP, obviously a great Doom player, John, but if I'm completely honest, he does tend to go the greedier route, right? Like you tend to see KP go into Midas build-ups on these Dooms. Not that I'm saying he'll go at this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for that greedy route, Doom, and that concerns me a little bit if that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, it's standard build-up for Doom, I think, regardless. Like, it's just too valuable. It allows you to scale really well and get the big item advantage very fast, so I can't fault people for going that route. It will slow your game. So I am keen to see if KP will go that route. You can see another good movement out from UDV, smoking once more. This is where they got the first blood in Game 2. Let's see if they find that opportunity. Talon clumping a lot harder onto their mid-tier 1. Not quite overstepping. KP not quite overstepping as well. And again, there's an arrow, there's a burrow strike, and there's a lot of early damage here from Talon.
Are they ever going to make their way over? KP looks like he's going to try and go for the bounty, but he's going to be very cautious. He's under vision. They've got him. Burrow strike is there. Arrow to set up. Do they have enough damage, though? With a tree toss? No, it's not quite enough. The arrow was quite short, so the duration not really too long. And in the end, Talon will walk away scot-free, at least for now. So it is going to be a 2-for-2 on the bounties, I believe. Like, where is the
3
third?
for 1.
3 for 1. All right. Fair enough. Thank you for that, John.
Yep, strong start for UDV again, playing the same way, just getting a nice smoke. Talon on the defensive at the start. Does get punished. Still, we'll see how those lanes break out. We are looking at mid right now. JG up against Mikado. Again, as mentioned, it's a much more favorable time for the Kunkka. It's harder to shove him away with just a Shadow Strike. He'll always be able to play with Tidebringer in comparison to game number 2. So a lot more laning presence for JG. Mikado is working that level 1 Shadow Strike well, but he's lacking the wave clear. So he's going to be maybe missing out on a couple of CS. It's going to be a bit harder to build up that early lead with this kind of build. And I'm keen to see what Mikado prioritizes. Will he go 2-0-3 or 3-0-2 as we see in some cases?
We'll see. You might not just feel the necessity for Blink when you're against the Kunkka, of course. Always got that X-Back available. Of course, top lane, Teehee on that Pos 5 DP, along with Ken, are going to be against KP on the Doom and Hyde on the Shadow Shaman. The tiny DP lane, never easy to go against. I suppose Shaman Doom lane is also never easy to go against. Bit of an even trading lane, but certainly there is place to kind of abuse each other as Teehee does move in with the Spirit Siphon, but Hyde, he's got such high base damage, he just doesn't care. He just man fights, and it kind of works out for him.
Yeah, that's one thing you have to be concerned about in this duo of UDV. Durability is there for KP whenever he does eat a creep and pop the Scorched Earth. The right-click trades for a DP aren't favorable. You're going to have to expend the Spirit Siphon on a Shadow Shaman, which is not really the ideal. And of course, you're just not going to be depending on early toss. Ken is going to probably go for 102 by level 3, so you're not going to have that window to toss back, try to isolate something. And for Talon, the slower this lane goes, the happier they are in Doom. You can still apply pressure with Hyde, you can still try to slow down a Tiny, but the important thing is Doom finds its farm.
There you go. They're going to try to Teehee. Shackle will only last so long at level 1, so they aren't going to be able to try and really confirm the kill, but they are certainly sending a message here to Teehee that he's not just going to be able to siphon every single time. Just abuse that heal. And of course, bot lane, Rupido on the Sand King against Q and Savage here on the Brewmaster Razor. I believe Rupido is going to be supported by Lucify on that Mirana, and it goes back to the combination. You've got Burrow Strike, you've got Arrow. Can be quite detrimental as the levels do go up. For now, we haven't really seen a Burrow Arrow in the laning phase, but I imagine they are going to wait a couple more levels before they do actually try for that.
It can be difficult pressuring the Razor in this lane. It's still a melee matchup against Razor. You're going to have to use your Burrow Strike to get away, and Burrow striking him from the back while he's standing all the way back is tough. Burrow striking and arrowing a Brewmaster isn't easy to burst down. So I think this is a playable lane for Talon, not the most overwhelming considering combination, and that should mean Savage should still be able to find farm, but that also means Rupido gets to play around with Sandstorm and Caustic. Not many issues for him to find that build up towards the blink on Sand King as well.
Q, bit of a chase here onto Lucify. He's going to have to let him go. He's trying to block the Ancient camp, and he does do so very nicely. Appreciating the fact you are against a Tiny and a Kunkka, you don't really want to allow those stacks to be coming up. Just not allowing Lucify to do his job of getting those stacks going, and I suppose Q isn't really necessary in the laning stage right now as the Brewmaster. It doesn't really do much for the Razor, so he's just going to sit back and continue denying this Mirana entrance to her own triangle. I do appreciate that play. Just never allow them to stack. It's quite detrimental with a Kunkka Tiny on your team.
Without that build-up catch-up form for JG is going to be hard to pull off. He is having a slower start in this lane. Mikado's done a great job of balancing it, going for a 3-1-1 build instead. So having the value point from Blink. They will find the kill onto the Razor though. While Q is away, he did manage to gap close, and Savage just a bit past beyond his creep wave. Does get punished for it.
Yeah, I mean, Burrow Strike Arrow is still always going to be there. You do get left alone like that, and Savage does get punished. A nice little pickup to try and really abuse Talon as Q is still not returned back into the laning phase to help out. Looks like all his focus is going to be in on the mid lane. Just making sure JG has as tough of a time as possible. So he's going to run right into the Brewmaster now. Looks like Lucify is going to be there to just salve him up. Give the Kunkka another chance at life here in the mid lane. I suppose all things being said and done, he's not too far behind JG, but certainly, you know, Makota's having a much better time, and that level 6 timing is going to hit a lot faster for the Quap.
And that's the 6 timing we have to watch out for from Talon. That's going to be setting their pace. Going to want to see where that first Sonic Wave lands, if Mikado even levels it. And again, we've seen some players just max out the Scream of Pain first or go for the value points for farm. If that opportunity presents itself, Mikado will be the one setting that snowball pace, considering how slow their supports are. Savage again, though.
Oh, Savage, bot lane, being caught out. He's going to go down. Top side, there was a bit of action going on as well, but now it's Talon chasing down UDB. Instead, it's Teehee and Ken both going to be fine. But going back down bot, John, that's the second time this laning phase already. Savage has died on this Razor, and this is the pos one you're going to be relying on throughout the mid to late game to carry you through. And considering how the other lanes are going right now for Talon, this could be pretty annoying for them. Their Razor just may not be ready by the time they are.
Yeah, I think the one thing Talon is gunning for is just to secure a faster start for Mikado and for KP. They understand that these are the two heroes that are going to play greedier. The Razor, as we mentioned, Raph doesn't need too much. Falcon Blade BKB this game, I think, is the only goal for Savage, so he's fine just kind of copping up a couple deaths. He gets to have a free lane, gets his EXP, get towards level 6. You do worry about Rupido's blink timing. He's only about 380 gold away, and once that's up and running, this Sand King will be showing all over the map. It's going to be hard to fight against that team fight potential on UDV.
Well, JG's completely surrounded on the Kunkka. Hyde is just behind, ready to go whenever. He's going to show up on the Death Prophet to try and help defend this, but JG, he'll get caught out here as Hyde is there from the backside, but a nice arrow landing onto the Brewmaster. Makoto, he wants a Sonic Wave out. He won't even need it. In fact, JG's already gone. still only level 5 on the Kunkka means he can never throw the boat out. As Makoto, he'll hold on to the ulti at the last second. He'll throw it out onto Lucify, and he'll find a second. As Hyde is going to survive on the Shaman, just barely getting the salve off.
Yeah. Big kill. That's the hero you really want. The snowball. The Quap is going to set that pace, and a good use of that Sonic Wave. Finds a couple of kills. 1 kill off the back of that, and running down to Kunkka is great. They can't really apply pressure onto the tower. They're not even remotely close to level 6 for Hyde, so they can't quite transition that to an objective, but they are helping to build up on that win condition and try to give Mikado the start he needs. Still, JG does have 6 up now. If the side of UDV starts to commit towards mid, the fights start to complicate for the side of Talon. And this is where the support Brewmaster really doesn't do much until level 6. It's really a do-nothing here until that point. So we're going to have to see how fast Q can hit that 6 past that point. The one good thing for Talon, outside of those kills, is that the triangle is still blocked. So stacks aren't quite built up, and that does mean the flash farm for the Tiny isn't going to be quite online, although there is that smoke play now. Rupido has his blink up, Mike.
Arrow could be there to set up. Q being very patient. Oh, that's a great burrow strike into an epicenter. Oh, they just used the power in his bait. Rupido, very, very patient. Lines it up perfectly.
Yeah, that's the blink reveal coming out from UDV, and again, that's because of how free the lane was for Rupido to build up. Top of the net worth board, doing great on the Sand King, carrying the momentum for his team. The rest of his cores are sort of suffering. JG and Ken not having as great of a start as they'd want, but with the foundation a Sand King lays, you can definitely start running around, thinking about those burrow strike arrow combinations, start to run down certain team fights if you're not careful here on Talon's end. Talon, for their part, are clumping top. They've got Doom ready. They want to shove in a tower. Not the quickest progress, again, with Hyde still at level 4. But they can at least start to make it uncomfy for Ken to farm. Already in that jungle, sharing that same jungle farm with JG. They are kind of getting choked in. Not quite enough to feel comfy. UDV still has a lot to play with.
What they do. Talon, they're going to try and pressure this bottom, or rather top tier 1 tower for now. No Serpent Wards available, so it's not the fastest process, but they'll eventually get it done with just the right clicks. Though there are going to be TP rotations coming in. Rupido already around with the Blink Dagger up. Happy to defend just with the Sandstorm. It's almost a very desperate kind of push attempt from Talon, it feels. So they are trying to maybe set up for a kill attempt, but KB may get caught. Burrow Strike is there. Arrow to follow up. He is just locked down, and he's probably just dead. Felt very desperate.
All the way up front, I think they want to just take pressure away while everyone else is farming. Like they've given some room for Savage to not be under threat. Falcon Blade power treads up, working onto the BKB, and they're just letting Hyde kind of soak. He's stuck in a very awkward spot. He is going to be forced to TP away as they are getting a chase on
Makoto. That could be a big one. Silence is there, but Hyde, he'll be around to save the day, get the shackles off, and don't allow the follow-up damage to fly in. Makoto, realizing how important a BKB is going to be this game, is already queuing one up before anything else. And I couldn't agree with him more, John. BKBs need to come out ASAP here for Talon Esports.
Yep, just the ball. KP again. Ooh.
This time they'll miss the arrow. That'll allow him to walk away, but again, John, you're playing Doom, you're going minus. It's a slow start, but it's a great ramp up once you get to that minus. It is definitely going to feel like a very slow start, though, for KP, that's for sure.
They've got level 6 on Hyde here, so they could commit for the tower if they wanted to. Just need to fight the right angle. They do lose their siege creep with a Mirana around, as you tend to. But they are dragging up Q as well, and he has a 6 as well. So the greedier supports have found their level spikes. Let's see if they can maybe translate that to a fight, but UDV, they're smoking 2 more heroes top.
UDV kind of reading this movement here from Talon. Rupido, again with the blink up, happy to move in. Q, gonna try and survive through this, but it looks like he is already set to die. There'll be no primal split to come out, as Teehee, he wants a bit more, and they're gonna find Hyde. With the Spirit Siphon slow, it'll be more than enough as Hyde will just run away like a turtle. They take down another, and I'm still to this day wondering what that sticker is, John. What is that sticker?
It's a heart. It's a heart.
I know it's a heart. I know what he's trying to do, John. I'm aware that that's a heart symbol. I'm just... Why is my question?
Why not? It's a good way of sending love when you kill someone, you know, get them to tilt.
Savage! Oh, the arrow landed. They missed the burrow strike, but the arrow lands. Top lane, is there some action? Looks like JG is going to be chased down on the Kunkka. And this will be a great kill. Q will take that one though on the Brewmaster. You'd rather give that to Makoto, but what can you do?
They find a bigger kill on the Razor dying down bot, so they're slowing down Savage's ramp up towards the BKB. Again, just playing around with the early pressure UV can apply. And they are finding that big opening. 3 to 8, less than 1k lead there side, but they find that bot tier 1. Talon will be able to commit for top. Again, they still have wards. Looks like it might not be necessary, considering that Power's very low on HP already. But now UDV gets to start pressuring mid. They've done a great job on UDV's end to constantly play around with Blink on Rupido. They've done a great job of giving Ken some space to catch up. He's now number 1 in net worth, so your Tiny is starting to ramp up as well. And Talon still have a lot to work on. As mentioned, Doom, Midas flying out. KP's still going to need a Blink and BKB afterwards, and that's still going to be some time.
Nice setup here from Rupido once again. Onto KB, who has been X-Pac. He has the Doom, but there's absolutely no point in popping it. You've really got to give props to Rupido, John. He's doing a fantastic job so far in this game 3.
Yeah, just this is the Rupido we know from the past, you know, with the lovely call out Rupido. Really good job jumping around everywhere. And Talon have to be cautious. Again, they're playing the slower pace, but their lineup isn't necessarily a scaling lineup.
Oh,
they're
that's
like a
another great
mid-game
stun.
lineup.
Another great stun, but they aren't going to follow up. In fact, Makoto going to try and turn with the shackles out into the Sonic Wave, but the TP away. Rupido, he might just make it, and he does. In fact, he is tanking 3 heroes worth of damage right now with the Spirit Siphons, and Makoto, he gets caught by the Expo. He's going to cop all the damage, but do they have enough follow-up? Not quite yet, Makoto. He's going to be all right. Instead, they'll have to leave Teehee to die. In fact, a Doom has been committed onto the Kunkka, and Savage will join in to ensure that they are able to take down JG. We are finally seeing some signs of life here from Talon Esports.
Getting some punishment out, and they do manage to hold on to their triangle area as well. Not many stacks built up, so they didn't have too much to lose, but those are definitely some kills they needed. They've got to take care of the vision game coming out from UDV. It's very aggressive. That triangle ward causing a lot of issues here, but Q does spot it out with the sentry drop and the courier placed up. You should be able to retake control. UDV though, playing aggressive with the Moonlight here.
Oh, nice Tumbler's Toy. KP, barely getting away. I mean, how did that work even? I'm pretty sure that stun connected before the Tumbler's Toy jump, but I guess not.
Is under attack.
Yeah, on edge. Nice little saving play to dodge out the ganks. And I think for UDV, the one concern is if they keep going for this run and gun and not farm up, they are putting all their eggs on the Tiny, and Ken is building up a bit of a bigger lead. But the BKB timings for Talon are coming through soon. Not too much left until that. They will get a push going down mid with the DP popping the Exorcism, and Talon aren't quite in a position to fight back. Doom's still on cooldown. They do have the split, but it does feel like without the Doom, it's a lot harder to fight in. So they will be able to take this one for free, open up the map more for UDV. And again, widening the areas where Ken can farm safely. This Tiny's still been completely uncontested. Talon, they have this mid-game spike, but they have to worry about the Tiny scaling. It's going to be an issue towards that late game here, Mike.
He's ready to fight as well. Like with the Blink Echo Saber up, he can join these team fights if he needs to. He's just opting to farm because he's not required yet. Like they're doing a great job just with the Burrow Strike arrow. There's been no reason for Ken to get involved. They will spot out Makoto. They might get a silence in time, Teehee. He'll be around. Where's the silence, though? I guess with the haste rune, they just don't bother.
Yeah. A little bit of a run and gun for Mikado, dodging out on that opportunity. So at least they get info as to where 2 heroes are. Rupido, Luzify still playing top, though. KP just hanging around the tree line. Has to avoid this gank. Could be another big kill.
Don't do it, KP. I know it looks good. Don't do it. In fact, he's going to get caught anyway. Rupido, Spidey senses tingling, gets the epicenter, and that'll be enough, I think, for KB to drop another time. 1-3-1 is the scoreline right now for this Doom, and well, in stark contrast to Rupido right now, John 6-0-3 on the Sankey.
And he's among the bottom net worth cores, which is never good news when you're on the Doom. You kind of want to be up there. Your greedy playstyle. You want to keep getting Devours. You want to keep using the Midas, not ramping up. And UDV just playing well with the tempo every single time.
Another one. No, arrow misses. Oh, Lucify messing that one up a little bit. As Hyde might just die to the sandstorm damage. He is going to be able to set up for the Sand King though. It's well worth it. As Lucify now really has nowhere to go but down. Makoto able to take a double kill, and that's going to be a fair bit of gold to go back the way the Queen of Pain. Bit of an awkward mistake there from poor old Lucify, just missing the arrow.
Yeah, would have been a lot cleaner if they got that. Gave the opportunity to Talon to come back in. And those kills going to Mikado were big. That's his BKB timing lining up here, Mike. Among the first of many. Savage already has his. So this is the point now where Talon starts to feel more confident in the fights. The Burst Strike, the Epicenter, it's not going to feel like enough. The damage from the DP is not going to feel amazing. You start to rely more on your Tiny, more on your Kunkka to burst them through. And for Talon, it's all down to execution now. So with a protection up, we'll see if they are ready to clump up and start fighting. I think the only one lacking right now is KP. His BKB is still a ways off, despite the Midas buildup. So that could hold them behind. UDV not resting though. Again, another smoke out, another move towards the top. Just constantly on the hunt.
They are. Talon to move in for a power rune. Are not going to find one top lane. It's going to be bot side instead of 5-man smoke. They've already seen the Death Prophet. In fact, so Teehee will move into the Roshan pit where JG is. JG, he's not going to be happy about this. He didn't want to be part of this at all. Oh, Teehee. It was a game of hide and seek, and Teehee, he goes exactly where his partner was hiding. Teehee still trying to run. Is making his way out. In fact, Rupido going to turn back around onto Hyde with the epicenter. Does at least get something. But they'll lose the Death Prophet. But a nice Spyro Strike. Rupido still trying. But he is on his own. Lucify, he'll try to finish off Makoto. But it is not going to work out. I guess Teehee died to a neutral creep at least. That's something. So somehow Lucify is still not dead. Q will eventually get it done. Bit unfortunate for UDV, John.
Just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Good punishment coming through from Talon. That is all their major BKB reveals though. I'm sure UDV is going to be ready for the next engagement. They're going to be able to space out their use of the Burst Strike, space out the use of their X, of the arrow, and start to line up those combos a little bit better. Talon, I think while these BKBs are up, they've got to keep running and gunning, especially while UDV don't have any of their own BKBs. So this is Talon's window to take back some of that map control they lost, to start applying some pressure onto Roche, maybe start considering Roshan as well if they save the wards from the tier 1 push, and, you know, claw their way back. Still a close game, less than 1k lead on UDV. Ken is still massively ahead of it, 3k, at least 3k ahead of Savage almost, and his own BKB not too far off. In fact, he could just go disassembled Saber, get the BKB recipe and just be set in the middle of these fights. So your Tiny is going to be able to show up really, really soon. And that is, again, just a massive issue for Talon because we haven't seen them have to deal with Ken at all in the past few engagements.
Yeah, I mean, Ken still has just not been involved at all. BKB coming out soon for the Tiny. Maybe that's around the time. Still farming like a madman, though. Like, it's about 4k ahead of Savage. So happy days for the Tiny. Yeah, it just feels like apart from that last fight, they haven't needed it. Bot lane, KP now being chased down by JG, but is going to hide in the tree line and should be just fine. No rotations from Talon to try and take down this Kunkka. Instead, Talon going to hang around the top side of the map. There are going to be rotations, though, once again from Rupido, and this time Ken might get involved as the Burrow Strike is going to be there. Onto Q, baiting them in. Ken, though, he's walking away. He doesn't want part of this. Bot side, they are trying to chase down KP, but this is a massive mistake from UDV. They'll be chased down. KP not going to be able to land the Infernal Blade, but it won't matter. They'll lose Teehee to boot. Makoto with another double kill. And Ken? You just chase him down, surely. Cinderbru's going to slow him up. They won't chase him too far, but very interesting mistake to make from UDV, I think.
Yeah, they're starting to make a couple of tiny mistakes. Not the end of the world for UDV. Their Tiny is still really strong. I think they're just waiting out for that full BKB, and it does fly out. So your Tiny is now ready to go. I think next time that move comes through, your Tiny will be able to just jump in BKB, be very confident in itself. Savage is going to have to hold that static link for the Tiny in these engagements, and UDV will go for a full 5-man smoke. They've got everything up.
that they do. BKB up on Ken, they feel a lot more confident. Problem is Q is going to block the way in, break the smoke, and still they're in. They found KP, a 3-man avalanche out as well. Hyde's going to melt along with Q and KP as now you'll see Savage. He'll try to run with his BKB available, but it's probably not going to matter. They'll just chase him down, and that'll be another 4 down, 4 UDP. Mistakes or not, John, they still win the team fight very easily. There's even Makoto getting stunned up by Rupido, just trying to go after the mid-tier 1. But they'll go for Roshan instead. They don't care about the mid-tier 1 tower anymore.
Big opening for UDV. Really good use of their ward on the high ground. Talon did not reward it at all, so they were under constant vision, even with a smoke break, and that allowed UDV to jump the back line anyway, despite it being on from the low ground. So UDV play really well with their BKB timing. Roshan not going to take too long. There is enough time to respawn. Mikado could try to make a play, but it is massively risky. His BKB is ready though.
Oh, they're gonna jump in. Makoto, he might be a bit early with the BKB up, but he's still trying to get the Aegis, and he's got it. Makoto, he'll take the Aegis away from UDV, but now the Burrow Strike, Rupido gonna try and punish, but he's the one to drop. Makoto, just with the BKB alone, gets it done, and there's your tips out. He deserves it.
He salvages that entire situation. Goes for the risky play. BKB just enough. Nothing to pierce through that control, that spell immediately, and manages to save something for Talon. So they keep this game again rather even relatively in terms of net worth. All of the gold still going towards Ken. And the Tiny is still that big win condition, but we have seen situations where Tiny can be controlled. We'll see if this is one of those games. I think it's a lot of pressure on Hyde to maybe get a good blink shackles, hex off before the BKB flies onto Ken. I think that's probably your best bet of keeping the Tiny down. Easier said than done with all the control UDV has on hand on their end. And the side of Talon, this is still a scary spot. Like, yeah, they're finding wins. They're building up. They've got the BKBs, but we're almost at we're approaching the 25-minute mark. Once you start to approach the 35-minute mark, that Tiny feels really scary. And I'm still not entirely sure if the side of Talon has enough to hold him back. Like, yeah, perhaps by that point you'll have refresh on Savage, so you can't just static link, but we've seen it before. If he does stand in the middle, BKB or not, he's not that durable. He doesn't have the highest strength gain. He doesn't have the highest agi gain to have some armor on hand. He's still very vulnerable to just these prolonged hits coming out from everyone.
But they are Talon. Group up down a bot lane. They might actually be able to find Lucify on the bottom. It looks like the Moran are going to be just fine to get away seeing that 23 Savage Plasma field. I suppose with the Aegis available now, they can really start to delay this game here, Talon. So it seems like UDV back to the drawing board, allowing Ken the time to bring up that Silver Edge now. That's when the damage really starts to get pumped out from the Tiny. JG, he's going to cop a bit of damage here on this Conker, but will be able to X his way back. No problems. I wonder if Talon are looking at this Tiny, wondering how to deal with it at this point, right? Like, you're going to get to a point where the Silver Edge will be up completely. And we've just seen how much crit damage this damn Tiny does. It's way too high. Like, you might not have the answers even with the BKBs up.
I think they've got a couple of things. Blink Doom on KP might be their best bet. Just ensure that the Tiny's not comfy standing up front. Can't really do too much once he is doomed up, so perhaps that's the play along with Static Link from Savage at the same time. They're going to have to coordinate to get that done. Easier said than done to lock in a Tiny that way. And that does leave opportunities for your Kunkka, for your Sand King to do a lot more in the middle of these fights. But the Blink is up, so KP can show up. He still has his fresh 9-second charge in his own BKB. And Talon are already going for a 3-man smoke here.
JG, he's going to break the smoke on Savage. He's got the X-Back, so they can't actually make the jump in. Instead, Talon going to loop around the other way, but they're losing that high ground advantage here. This could be dangerous as T. He's going to break the smoke onto Q, and there's your Burrow Strike. Rupido will go right into the epicenter, forcing out the Doom from KB. They're going to try and go for the fight here, Talon. They've already lost Q. A big Sonic Wave out. It will land on 3, but doesn't really matter. They're trying to go into the Tiny. Ken, he'll be KB up, but he's lost so much damage right now. He's minus 98. It's not a good team fight whatsoever as Ken needs to back off, but they've got the Hex to lock him down. Oh boy, a massive issue here from UDV. As now Talon can really punish. JG's going to BKB TP up, but that might be the tier 2 mid tower to go down, and more importantly, John, it seems like the Tiny's not so big of an issue.
No, a really good shackles out coming out from high that allowed that extended use of the static link. And you know, it's kind of funny. That was like minus 83, sure. It was still like 300, like 411 damage minus 83, so it was still a lot, but not quite enough. Considering Tiny's attack speed, you do want bigger hits, and they just managed to kite around. Really great doom out from KP to stop that epicenter without that magical burst from Rupido. And the rest of Talon just felt comfy enough to jump in and take that fight themselves. Still, knowing that the doom is down, UDV do go for a smoke play themselves, and those BKBs are down as well. Big opening if they find someone to catch here.
He's gonna have his smoke broken. Not gonna be able to hold down Savage though. They know he's in the triangle somewhere, so he get some wards down, but it does seem like UDV, I'm not sure if they can really go for this. They've lost the net worth advantage now, and they are still fighting into an Aegis. They are gonna go. Arrows there, Epicenter to follow, and Savage. Well, he's tanky, but not quite tanky enough. They'll make it work as Hyde will also go down. Talon, they're thinking about a team fight. But they will have the Aegis fire, and that's going to be enough for them to back off.
Yeah, this ward is just constantly owning the side of Talon, this cliff ward, every single time. They replant it, they have a sentry on hand, they don't manage to de-ward, and Savage just farms and gets caught out. Talon's got to be able to get control into the triangle once more, clear out the wards. Big opening for UDV to start pushing in some of these tier 2s. Top tier 2, not going to take too long to fall. With the epicenter running, not too much time on it though, but Ken's around as well to do some damage. And that's going to open up the triangle just a little bit more here for UDV. Makes Roshan slightly safer, although mid tier 2 still stands. There's still a decent access point for Talon. But you can't allow free kills like that. Like you just can't get caught in the same exact spot with the same exact ward twice over when UDV's just been constantly running at that same area multiple times now.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Talon, they're gonna group up. Maybe force a smoke here. You got Savage up in 4.
Radiant are scanning.
In the Razor, it does feel like if you catch the Razor out without that BKB, he's just as good as dead. So important to allow Savage to get the BKB off into the Refresher Orb. Have the double Eye of the Storm going. They're gonna 5-man smoke though. Mid lane Teehee, he's the one that's gonna be able to break the smoke onto KP, and that's gonna be enough. They blink the wrong way. They won't find anything for their trouble, and that's going to be a 5-man smoke down the toilet. Well, Talon, I guess they could still try, but Teehee's still around. He's still being a real big menace with his positioning. It's not allowing them an entry into this fight they're looking for.
They re-smoked, but they're forced to de-ward.
Oh.
They re-smoked under the ward, but they were still under smoke when they re-smoked. So, interesting choices. They'll just buy another smoke, go again. Let's see if this force out does work.
Dakota, pretty aggressive blink in. Not going to be punished for it, but doesn't really get anything either. UDV, they've kept the top lane pushed out very effectively. So at the end of the day, Talon's going to have to come back here and try to defend this. They'll have to respond to the top 3 players. UDV knowing this, they might go for their own smoke here. They've grouped up as 5. They're prepped for it, and it looks like they'll just pop it very, very soon. Nope, Moonlight Shadow instead. Same thing.
Pretty much. The ward coverage of Talon's not the best to spot out this movement. They do have a couple of sentries, but not many obs down on the map. Gonna have to watch themselves. Scan down for a little bit longer. Roche, in about 10 seconds, we'll find out when the respawn is. A bit too early to spot, and the Moonlight does fade. Not really able to get too much out of it, perhaps just looking to counteract a gank with another smoke. Maybe expecting a third smoke pop from Talon. They will play it safe. And surprisingly, this game is still really even, Mike. 15 to 19, 1k lead for UDV, not massive. Tiny is still getting a lot more farm. Silver Edge up on Ken. So he's at the point where he can get some pretty fat hits off with his output. You still have to respect the Doom. You still have to respect the fact that Static Link. You've got the refresh on Savage. He's got double Static Link, double Eye of the Storm. These fights get a lot tougher fighting into that, along with the BKB use. And I think as the game prolongs, though, it does still feel favorable for UDV. The Tiny just scales really well. You've got a lot of scaling options for GG. He could go for Ags, Ag Shard. And having that additional control in the middle of these fights when BKBs are down, it's going to disrupt it in a big way. So we'll see how much longer Talon wants to keep playing safe. UDV can play safe, can play really safe for as long as they want. confident in scaling of that Tiny. And I don't think they're in any rush as Talon will go for another smoke.
They've got a blink up on Savage now, Johnson. They've got a great way of cutting off this Tiny to be able to just sap all the damage away. So they'll find Teehee first. It's a decent start. They'll eventually just tick out here to KP's Scorched Earth. But I think Savage with the Blink Dagger now could be real scary here for Ken on this Tiny. So again, you don't want to lose all that damage. But with the Blink to close the gap, you may not have a choice in the matter. We'll see soon.
Oh.
Dire are scanning.
Ooh, good scan. Roche spawns right into it. Talon goes, but the scan is out from UDV. Moonlight Shadow up. Can they find the angle?
They've got her. Nice little stun there from Roshan. Oh, Makoto, he's going to be alright. Roshan takes the arrow for him. Rubido going for an epicenter. KP meanwhile on the high ground trying to get the vision out. Does pop the Doom. Who has he got? It's under the Kunkka, but they've lost the Doom immediately as Savage. He's going to jump up, but it's not the greatest jump in the world. Or maybe it is. They've got so much control on Ken, who's had no damage left, and they'll get it done. They'll get Ken gone as they even found JG on the Kunkka. Rupido still being chased down here by Q.
Whoa, Roshan.
It's a very split Yeah, Ice Frog, I think the Serpent Wards are a bit too strong, bro. Maybe a bit too strong.
That is way too much. Way too much. That's, yeah. Solo Roche, for the most part. They get the big kills. They get the Aegis off the back. It looked a bit dicey. You know, it looked really awkward because Savage came in, static link on Lotus Orb. No damage was lost for the Tiny, but hey, the controller was there. They managed to get the chase. I think the Eye of the Storm did more work. Double Eye of the Storm on a Tiny, ripped through the Grow armor. He becomes very vulnerable, as we saw again in game 2. Meld plus Desolator still melts a Tiny. So find the heals they need, still jumping.
Yeah, he's in with the Hex. Lotus Orb was there in time. Still, it's going to be a rather difficult kind of defense if you're not going to commit these buybacks here for UDV. Still chipping away at the HP of Makoto, but Savage, he's had enough of that. He'll jump in onto Teehee. The Teehee with the Force Staff. It might be enough, but he's still burning out with the Spirit Vessel. And it's a very slow death that he's going to die. Just barely to the Shadow Strike. But they do protect the T3 tower and the racks. In fact, they may have even found Q. JG will move in with the boat. Rupido is there. They'll follow up with the Aeon Disc popping. But Q's going to be just fine. At least for now. But maybe not for long, as they'll commit the arrow and the epicenter. And eventually he will die.
Tower is under attack.
Get the gem for their troubles. Pretty big take, so they feel a lot more secure on the map once more. Do have the Moonlight to try to chase some stragglers. The side of Talon have managed to take a full retreat back into their side of the river now. So they cut their losses. They still have Aegis to play with for 3 minutes once the respawns are back up. Refresh in about 40 seconds here for Savage. And you have a lot of protection from that instant burst. Aeon Disc up on KP. We saw the Aeon Disc up on Q. So it's not an immediate loss. Once these fights break out, you have a window to pop the boom. You have a window to pop the split. And that does help Talon find the angles here. UDV though, again, it's still a really close game. 20-21, 5k lead. But it just doesn't feel enough for Talon to really be confident here, as UDV still has a lot to play with.
Mid lane, Talon.
Radiant's
Set up.
bottom tower is under attack.
Very, very close game still, but a 5k net worth advantage here to Talon Esports. Big TP's coming top lane. They'd love to catch Makoto here, and they might just have him, but no, the Lincolns is going to break. The Burst Strike will not land. Makoto, he'll be fine. In fact, he'll turn around now, trying to find a target for his own team. Lucify in danger. Is going to get jumped. Savage is in as well. Right onto JG with the Static Link and the double Eye of the Storm, and it's going to be a lot of damage flying in for this poor Kunkka. He should eventually tie, and will. In fact, if they found a third, it does seem like they found the Sand King, and Makoto will take care of it with the Sonic Wave. Maybe they have time for high ground.
Has been killed.
Looks like they've got the angle. They managed to find the gem with the courier. So they snipe out a big courier. They take the gem back, take a tier 2, and the high ground's still open. Age is still running for a little bit longer. No double Eye of the Storm though. As refresh is down, Static Link is still up. BKB is still up for Savage. Clearing out the high ground is a bit tough for the Sandstorm, but hey, you've got a Shadow Shaman rewards. You can just do that.
That you can. We've seen how powerful these damn wards are, John. Soloing Roshan on their own with no heroes in the pit.
Radiant's bottom
Makoto, he's going to protect those wards. I mean, they're basically more valuable than a hero right now for Talon.
Dire's top tower
These
is
Raxes are
falling.
just going down. No
Dire's
problem.
top barracks
And
are
speaking
under
of that
attack.
Shaman, John, to make matters worse, Hyde, he has a BKB up now. So you've got a way of holding someone down practically forever. And they just can't stop you.
It's going to be pretty hard to deal with that. Hyde's going to be very well
Dire's
protected.
top
He's been on
barracks
point
is falling.
with his shackles and his hexes in this game so far. And with that, Talon get a full set of racks. So they make great use of the Aegis. Not too much time left in it now. Just about 40 seconds left. So we have a little bit of an opening to can force a fight outside. It does feel like, again, all their eggs are going into the tiny basket. Or Ken needs to show up to these engagements. It's been very scattered. A couple of these times Ken has not been there. When he has been there, he does get controlled up. So they need to figure a good angle. Get the jump in with Rupido and Lucify. Catch more than one hero in that combination and try to hold them back. And then have the Tiny come in, clean up while that burst window is still open. And you can win out really well on your DV. They buy up the Nullifier on Ken. They go for a smoke. This does mean that your Tiny is without buyback, so it's a bit of a risk. If Ken doesn't live through the engagement, that could be pretty scary.
Mid lane Talon.
Vanish.
Moonlight Shadow's going to be there. Do they know? There is a gem up. Makoto, though, immediately caught up. The Aeon Disc is going to save Makoto. He'll be just fine to reinitiate. It's a bad fight for UDV now. Sonic Wave, though, right through the middle. But they found the Tiny. That's the target they really want. With the Doom out, there's nowhere for Ken to go. So Rupido and Ken are both down without buyback, Jonathan. And they even found the third core in the form of JG. They might just have enough control and damage. Makoto will follow him down towards a fountain, but JG, he's going to try and fight back with the X-Torrent. It won't be enough. Teehee now the one in danger. In fact, Savage thinking about going for a fountain type. Will TP out right in front.
Dire's middle
They don't even
barracks
need
are
Savage for
under
these
attack.
towers, John. They've got the
Dire's
Serpent Wards again.
structures are fortified.
The real final boss for the siege. They will try to defend though, but
Yeah, they will, but it's not looking good. JG already needing to run back. Jump in from Makoto again into the Infernal Blade. That might just be enough for the Conquer. He's still dropping, but barely survived thanks to the Fountain Regen.
Dire's middle
He'll be
barracks
okay,
is falling.
but the mid-racks will not be. They will go down.
Dire's middle
And Talon,
barracks
they are one racks away from Megas now.
man, these are so scrappy coming out from Talon and UDV, but Talon's just making it work. One thing I haven't pointed out yet here, Mike, that I think is actually making a massive difference. Infernal Blade's percent HP damage with a shard up on KP, it's actually burning through the Tiny. I think that's where a lot of the sustained DPS comes from,
Dire's bottom
not the
tower is
Razor.
under attack.
Because the static link is just not taking enough. I mean, you get some good damage on Savage, but the consistent Infernal Blades to stop that run away and get that HP burn, it's such a high HP hero, along with a Kunkka. And KP is doing a ton of work with that Doom, just jumping, getting the right Doom targets off, getting the good Infernal Blades and hold to keep them burning and just killing them off in these prolonged engagements.
Oh, it's certainly been fantastic this game, John. I mean, KP, even just the Dooms alone, he's constantly finding the targets he needs to every team fight. Like, poor old Ken, it just feels like he hasn't taken a team fight. So every time he joins, he just gets doomed immediately. And that's about it.
Our scans
His fight's just dead. So here we go again. They'll pop the Moonlight Shadow. They are very hesitant, though, to try and make their way over. Makoto on the high ground. Oh, Rupido's not going to go for the Burrow Strike. Smoke broken. That'll be enough for them. They back off. They don't have the vision around the Roshan pit to really take the fight. And Roshan, well, we're going to find out in 8 seconds when it does spawn up. I mean, Hyde can practically just do it by himself at this point, can't he? He can just drop the wards and leave.
Yeah, drop the wards, maybe break the Lincolns, and then get a little shackle off to get even more wards with your shard, and have a good time. It is a longer respawn. I think one thing else I didn't point out in the last fight was that the Nullifier use on Makoto was broken by his spell block, and then his Aeon is still poppable.
Speaking of Makoto, there's your Aeon Disc again, and the Doom's flying out onto the Kunkka, onto the Tiny. KB, he's got the exact targets he needed, so then now they can really take the fight. They'll just taste this Tiny down. In the meantime, this Kunkka is just dropping as Teehee is just running with the spider legs, but this Tiny once again he just can't make it out. He just can't make it. JG, trying himself to TP away, but he's down to boot. That's it. GG. Talon. I mean, it was a rough series, John. I'm not gonna lie, but they make it through, and I believe that'll be it for them. Congratulations, I suppose, as they get to Division 1.
Oh man, was that terrifying to watch as a part of Talon? I'll be frank with you, Mike. That was pretty scary. You know, you and I coming into the draft did say UDV had a better draft. They had the Tiny, they had the scaling on hand there for UDV. They had a lot of ways of, you know, running it. They had really good timings. They played really well. Rupido was such a standout off lane here. His burst right combinations, his early blink timing at like 8 minutes was just ridiculous. But Talon, they just hold out. You know, they play with that greedy Doom. They work until they all have BKBs, and then the fights turn around. KP did a marvelous job of finding the right targets. In that last fight, you know, Savage barely got damage off onto Ken. It was all KP chasing the Infernal Blade burn. That's one way to handle a Tiny, I guess.
It certainly is, Jonathan. Did a hell of a lot of work. Ooh. Do we have an interview, John? Have we got someone already?
Yes, and he's already there. Forev himself is going to grace us with his presence.
Oh, we'll drag him in, John. Give me one. Let me alter the audio just so we don't go deaf if he has one of those kind of microphones. Hello, Forev. Congratulations. How you doing, sir?
I mean, I was molding watching our games, but
oh goodness.
You know.
What happened, Forev? What were you molding about? What was wrong?
I mean, you know, like Savage died a lot in the safe lane, and like Sinking got a 7-minute dagger, and then shit, please, like I think Mikuta gonna die too because he was winning the mid matchup. And yeah, fortunately that didn't happen that much. So yeah, we could play our own game.
Tell me what happened. I mean, you guys were undefeated in single games, right? Like Talon was just completely undefeated. You guys were smashing everybody. And then today,
it's one game though.
Well, I mean, now you have, right? Had they lost the previous game?
Yeah,
before?
yeah.
Oh, they had.
I think it's all. Oh, okay.
I mean, one set. I'm saying.
Did they? In
DPC,
just lost to UDV.
10-0.
Yeah, I know. Just now.
Through this, yeah.
Yeah, just now. Yeah. All right. So you just lost now to UDV. I wanted to ask why that happened, Fred. Like, why do you think UDV of all teams took a game off Talon?
I mean, honestly, so the first ban phase, I wanted to ban the Pangolier stuff for our cards 6-7, but like we picked different heroes. Somehow we changed our plan, and then like. Yeah, we kind of messed up from there.
There you have it. Go on, John.
All right. Now, I'm curious for how are you feeling about the team now? Like this guarantees you guys going to Div 1. Did you expect this to be as tough as it was? Do you expect this to, you know, do you think this is down to the team maybe getting a bit too excited about going to Div 1? Is that it?
I mean, yeah. Because, like, I mean, we really had a good result during the Scream days. So, yeah, I was expecting us to go Division 1, but unless we underestimate enemy.
Yeah, you can't underestimate anyone in C. And I guess before we close out, because Div 1 is waiting right now, how do you feel about your last matchup? RSG versus Talon. It probably doesn't weigh as much now for Talon, but how do you feel about playing against RSG, the only other team to have the same scoreline as you?
I think they're very versatile, especially the support lineups. So like, quite excited because our supporters are also really versatile too. So like, it depends on the draft, in my opinion. And yeah, I mean, I think they're a really good team. And one of their teammates were my squad before. So like, we used to scream together. And I know those guys. They're quite talented. But you know, my goal is 7-0 in this Division 2. Yeah, we're gonna do our best.
Right.
Excellent. Forever, before we let you go, who are you looking forward to versing in Div 1? If there's any team you guys want to go against, who do you want?
I mean, so is it kind of obvious?
I want to hear it from your mouth, Forever. Who is it? We know.
You know, I was T1. And, yeah, and Savage was T1 too.
Beautiful.
And yeah, I mean, they're like friends. And
yeah,
I'm kind of yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to facing them in the
Just-
future.
Alright.
You want to destroy March, huh? That's what it's all about, right? Between you and March.
We need to survive. What can you do? We need to get to major.
That's exactly right. Forev, congratulations. Congratulations to all of Talon on getting to Div 1. We hope you have a lovely night, and again, have a great night. Congrats.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Forev.
Thank you.
That was the lovely Forev joining us here today, John. Obviously, Talon doing a fantastic job. A bit of a rough series, 2-1. Not as we were expecting. Obviously, you were completely unbiased the whole time. Now that we can see your reactions, John, good to see. With that, though, I believe Upper Division is getting started rather soon, so we probably should switch over to the standby before we get told off. So it is MLP and johnxfire. It's been a pleasure. Don't go anywhere. We have more Upper Division games coming up very, very soon. We'll see you then.